All right, so we took a look at how is that we model the inheritance relationships between classes, and we saw that it's using the denormalized strategy, and that's the one we're going to keep using throughout the course. Right? We're not going to take a look at the other two. This demo is good enough for us. Now let's take a look at how is that we store in the database things such as relationships such as faculty and course, right? Where faculty might be related to many courses, a course might be related to many sections, a course might have many modules, modules have many lessons, lessons have many topics, topics have many widgets, yes? So how do we implement this one-to-many, right? One of these is related to many of those, right? In Java, it's straightforward. In Java, you say, well, here's my faculty, and the faculty has many courses, right? Basically, you have a variable called the courses that I've authored, right? And then you have a list of those courses. That's how you do it in Java, and that's it. That's all you would have to do, right? Probably you would have several methods in here to handle adding a new course, removing a course, right? Finding all the courses and filtering in some way. And you would have lots of those methods here, accessors and mutators that manipulate this array, this list. Correct? Right? All right. So how do we tell the database that that's what we want to do? Okay. So the way we need to tell the database is that there are actually several ways that the database could do this. Right? There's two ways. There's in particular two ways that the database could do this. The database could do the following. The database says, okay, you have a faculty has many courses, one to many. Right? There's two ways that we could do that. We could have a faculty table, right? And we can have a courses table. And you have a record here that is faculty 1. And here you could have several courses, course 1, course 2, course 3, right? All of them somehow related to this one faculty. Yes? Right? That's what we want to implement. The way it's done in SQL is that the faculty would have a primary key, a unique identifier, which we do have that already, right? So this would be 1, 2, 3 maybe. And each one of these, the way they would know that they would belong to that faculty is that they would have a foreign key, right? Meaning one of the fields here has the value 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 that tells them who they belong to. Right? They're pointing at that one faculty. Make sense? Right? That's the straightforward of doing it. Right? That's typically what it's done. What's done. But there's an alternative to this. The other alternative is to have a third table that says, I'm going to map a faculty to a course. So it's another table, usually referred to as a mapping table, right? That the records tell me which from one are related to the other. Yes? So if you have 3 records, you would have 3 entries here that says they all point to that one, and then each one of these point to this one over there. Right? So that's an option. That's another option. Right? Because there's 2 ways of doing it, you need to tell JPA what it is that you want. Do you want to do it this way, where you have a foreign key going from one to the other? Or do you want me to create a mapping table? Right? You have to be explicit. Right? If you don't tell me, I can choose one. It's not the one you want. Okay? Right? So let's do that. Let's see. Let's create a course. And let's create a relationship between the faculty and its course. Let's do that. Let's create a course here. Course. And the course could have private integer ID. That's going to be our primary key. It's going to have a title. That's it. That's all we're going to have for now. This is going to be an entity, and the course is going to be the ID, it's going to be a primary key, and we're going to tell the database to handle the primary key. We're going to say this is a generated value, and I'm going to use the strategy of identity. That's it. Okay, we're going to code generate all the setters and getters. Okay, and we're done. All right. Now, if I go back to the faculty, and I establish a relationship between these two, I can say private list of courses, and these are my authored courses. Authored courses. Okay, and I'm going to generate the setters and getters for this. So generate setters and getters, and there they are. Okay. All right. Notice that it has the set authored courses and get authored courses. Everybody good? All right. Let's see if we rerun this. We'll rerun that. We do Maven clean install. Again, it's going to blow away my database, and it's going to try and generate, and it failed. Right. So it's saying, let's see what error creating beam. Blah blah blah. Could not determine type of. What is it? Util lists of table user. So it doesn't know what to do with this author courses, right? It says you're trying to create a field, author courses, that is storing a collection of things. There's no such thing in databases, right? A field can only ever be a primitive data type, right? You can store a string, you can store a number, you can store a Boolean, but you can store a whole object perhaps, right? A raw, but there's no such thing as a collection of things, right? So we need to tell it how is it that you want to encode this. How is it that you want to encode this? So in JPA, the way we encode it is as follows. We have to say whether you want this or you want the map. Okay? We're going to say that we want to implement a one-to-many relationship between these two. We can say that this is a one-to-many, and that the faculty is on the one side, and that the courses are on the many side. Yes? Right? So the way we do that is by using the annotation one-to-many. And on the other side, right, we're going to tell the courses who their parent is. Who's your parent? Normally, we wouldn't have to do that in Java. In Java, usually, it's enough for the parent to be able to navigate to the children, but usually it's not necessary for the children to navigate back to the parent. Yes? Right? Usually we don't do that, right? We have the parent just have an array of the children, not necessarily the children pointing back to the parent. Sometimes we do, right? Maybe if we have like a linked list, right, and you want to be able to navigate backwards and forwards, yes, we have every node pointing to each other so that you can navigate backwards and forwards, yes, right? But in a relational database, navigation between records is free. Right, you can navigate from any record to any other record that are referencing each other. All right, so because we know that these courses are going to be stored, we know that these are going to be stored in a database. We have to add an additional field here of who your faculty is, right? Who your author is, right? Pointing back to the parent. Okay. Again, if this were just plain old Java, we wouldn't do that. Right? But we know we're going to be stored in a database, and we need a foreign key. That's what the foreign key is going to be from. Right? That reference back to the parent. Everybody good? All right. So in the faculty, we are on the one side. Yes? On the faculty, we are on the one side. So we're going to do a one-to-many. On the courses, we are on the many side, right? So this author here is on the many to one. Yes? Okay, and that's what's going to use the it's going to create the foreign key from. Okay, one more thing, and we're almost done. Well, obviously we need the setters and getters. Let's create the setters and getters of the faculty. Oops, where'd it go? Here it is, and my ubiquitous S. There it is. So one more thing, and we're almost done. We have to, on the many side, on the one-to-many side, we have to configure on that other class. How is that class referring to me? You know, which field on the other side is it referring to me? Right? And the reason is this. The reason is that here, the faculty can have several one-to-many. Right? You could have a one-to-many courses, saying I am authoring these courses, or I could say I am auditing these courses, yes, right? Or I am reviewing these courses. I could have many one-to-many relationships between me and the same courses, yes, right? So for each one of them, there would be a pointer back to you are my author, you are my reviewer, you are my auditing. Right? So for each one-to-many, I need to be able to say, okay, which one is this? Which collection is it referring to? Right? Notice that it doesn't have to be the same ones. I could be authoring these courses, and I could be reviewing those courses. Right? I could be auditing some other courses. Yes. So each one would be different collections. Correct? So they need to have individual references. So here we have to say it is mapped by the field author. All right? Okay. All right, let's try it again. Okay, notice that it created a whole bunch of things here. Let's go back. Notice that it created the course table. See that? Create the course table with what we would expect, right? The ID with the integer, auto increment, the title. Notice here the author ID. Remember that field called author, right? It created for me a field called author ID. This is telling me who my author is, right? This is the foreign key. Right? If the ID of the faculty is 123, the value of this would be 123, telling me, hey, that faculty record over there is my author. Okay. Notice the table user stays the same. There's no change in the table in the user table. And there's an alter here that's saying is creating a constraint saying, hey, you know in the table course, you know there's a field called ID. Okay. It's telling me it's configuring that field to be a foreign key. See that? And that it's referencing the table user, the ID field in that user object, that user record. See that? Right? This is, for logical purposes, we don't really need this, right? It's added here so that the database can enforce what is called referential integrity. Referential integrity, right? It's a fancy word for saying you don't want orphans, right? Just like, for instance, if you're down in a file system, yes, right? And you have you CD into a directory, into another directory, into another directory, and that directory has a whole bunch of files. If you try to remove the directory, the operating system will stop you. It says, no, you can't remove that directory because it's full of stuff, right? If I remove that directory, all these files would be orphaned, correct? Right? I don't know where these files would be if you remove the directory. Do you want to first remove the children and then I'll remove the parent? Correct? Yes, you don't want to leave things hanging. Same thing here. If you have a faculty that is authoring a whole bunch of courses, if I remove the faculty, all these courses would be left hanging. Right? They're all referring to a record, a faculty record, that if I remove the faculty record, all these courses would be left hanging, right, and not pointing to any faculty. Right, so that's what this is doing. Right, it's telling me, hey, that author ID is referring to a real author, a real faculty. You can't remove that faculty, right? If you have some courses related to that faculty. Make sense? Right. So that's the fancy word for that is referential integrity. Right. You have references. You don't want to point to something that doesn't exist. Right. So if I'm pointing to author 1, 2, 3 and the record is gone, then I'm left hanging. I'm not pointing to anything that really exists. So this stops me from doing that. Right. If I go back to the database. Where is it? If I go back to the database and I refresh, now I have two tables. We have the user table, and we have the course table, and the the user table hasn't changed. The same thing, other than we have the D type, right? But the course table, notice that it has a title, it has the ID, but it has the foreign key author ID. See that? Everybody good? Awesome, excellent. Right. So let's create a couple of courses, so we can test that the one-to-many works. How does it work?